Every character in From is hiding something, but there is only one character who has already lived through this town's ending. He watched a cycle end in everyone's death once before. He survived more than 40 years alone with the things in those woods. He takes instructions from a boy who never used to age. And in the season 4 finale, his own father almost killed him, calling him the one thing standing between himself and the real world. Today we're doing a complete deep dive on Victor Kavanaugh. Every fact the show has given us, his full timeline rebuilt in chronological order, everything he knows that the rest of the town doesn't, and the questions season 5 has no choice but to answer. Today's video is the definitive guide to the most important character in From that nobody fully understands. The goal is that by the end of this, you'll know Victor's story better than most of the town honestly does. And it goes without saying, full spoilers ahead for up to the season 4 finale. So if you're not caught up, this is your warning. This is your warning right now, because we're about to start now. For most of season 1, Victor was just the town's strangest resident, a middle-aged man with the mannerisms of honestly a child, hoarding drawings, constantly telling people that bad things would happen, and they actually did. They did happen. But there's something that clearly separates him from every other character on the show. Everyone else in the town is trying to figure out what this place is, but Victor's actually trying not to remember. He's the only living link to the last cycle of the town. He's the only person the boy in white has been personally guiding for 4 decades. And he's the only character whose entire life is a preview of what happens when the man in yellow's side actually wins. So understanding Victor is to understand the shape of the whole story. So let's start with where his story actually begins. This video is sponsored by Manta Sleep, and honestly, this is the most natural sponsor that I could have ever asked for. If you know me in my personal life, you know the tiniest little things will mess with my sleep. I've been wearing different eye masks, and I've been trying to find one that actually blocks out all the light. Most of the ones that I've tried before do not work in that way. That was before I found Manta Sleep, though. One of my favorite things about it is the eye cups themselves are completely contoured and adjustable, so there's zero pressure on your eyes, and if they don't fit exactly how you want them, you could just take the Velcro off and move it around. It's actually super comfortable, and it genuinely does block out everything, the way those cushions sit. And the best part is, I just put it to the real test because I flew to Italy a few weeks ago. It was a very bright cabin because it wasn't a red eye, but I had just gotten the mask and I put it on, and for the first time ever, I actually slept on a plane. That is something I would have dreamed of years ago. I'll leave the link right in my description, or you could use my code Jerry's Takes for 10% off. That is just all one word, Jerry's Takes, for 10% off. Thank you very much, Manta Sleep, for sponsoring this portion of the video and being honestly the most natural sponsor I could imagine, because I genuinely love your product. Now back to it. To put it simply, Victor's childhood was already soaked in this place even before he got here. Henry and Miranda Kavanaugh were free spirits in their own words, a couple of hippies who cleaned up and quit the drugs when their 2 kids, I should say, were born, a boy, Victor, and a girl, Eloise. And then on Henry's 35th birthday, they decided to take LSD one more time for old time's sake, because how could you not, whatever, and to each their own. Anyway, according to Henry, this was the moment that changed everything. It was the moment when Miranda started hearing voices and when the visions themselves began. And those visions were that of Fromville. In season 3, episode 2, Henry walks Tabitha into his basement and shows her painting after painting depicting the township in precise detail, a place Miranda had never physically been at that point. And season 4 even takes this further. Henry says that for 40 years, the boy in white and the man in yellow were just figures that were in his wife's paintings, and she saw both of them before any of it happened to her family. Miranda came to believe she had been chosen to free the children who were locked away in the tower, and Henry says others had been chosen before her, All of them had failed, and none of them ever came home, which is something we learned by the end of the season 3 finale, but that's something we'll definitely come back to. Miranda even put a physical bottle tree in a park near their home. I don't know how she got away with that, but she did. And she also did a replica in the backyard, identical to the one that's standing in the town's forest. It's so interesting to me that the single most important object in this entire mystery existed in the real world first as art made by a woman who had never set foot in this town. And then one day, Miranda took Victor and Eloise, got in the family station wagon, and drove. Henry spent the next 40 years alone in that house, keeping his children's bedrooms preserved exactly as they left it, drawings still on the walls, the same style of drawings Victor makes to this day. The Matthews family stumbled in, Miranda was called, and being chosen apparently runs in cycles. So what exactly does that make her son? Boyd dates the man in yellow's arrival to the late 1970s, back when Victor was a child. So that's our anchor, that's what we're gonna go off of. Sometime in the 70s, a little boy named Victor Kavanaugh arrives in a town that does not let people leave in that station wagon with Miranda and Eloise. And the thing that we tend to forget is that the old town actually worked. It was a functioning community and it seemingly had joy. And a lot of that joy came from one man, Christopher, the resident entertainer who performed for everyone with his ventriloquist puppet Jasper. Victor adored him. Then Christopher started seeing the symbol, that same symbol that Jade saw and that fills the journal that Tan Shen digs up in season 1. Christopher became obsessed. He withdrew from everyone, and a young Victor watched a man who brought the town happiness slowly lose his mind trying to figure out what this symbol was. Now, for most of his life, Victor remembered what happened next incorrectly. He remembered Jasper, the puppet, speaking on its own. He became convinced that the puppet held answers, which is why he spends a chunk of season 3 trying to get a wooden doll to talk. But in season 3, episode 8, with Tabitha's help, the real memory finally surfaces. It happened in the church basement, and the figure talking to Christopher was actually the boy in white, not Jasper. And the boy told Christopher 2 things. The answers to the end are in the beginning, and he needed to go through a faraway tree. This recovered memory of Victor's uncovers 2 very specific things. 1, the boy in white has been running the exact same playbook at least over 40 years, whispering the same cryptic mission to whoever he's chosen. And 2, the town scrambled Victor's memory of that moment for 4 decades. Victor's memory it's a crime scene, which honestly explains why he draws the things he does. And while all of this was happening, someone new rolled in. A friendly man in a big brown car. In Victor's own words from season 4, he arrived in a car just like everyone else, and he was welcomed as a friend. The man in yellow himself didn't break into the community. He was invited in socially, the same way creatures get invited in through the windows, except what makes him more terrifying and much more of a challenge is he did so in broad daylight. But we're not talking about the man in yellow. It is context, but we're not here to talk about him. Either way, then comes the night that defines Victor Kavanaugh's entire existence. Miranda hides Victor and Eloise into the root cellar and tells them to stay put. She's going to the tower to save the children locked inside. That's the mission she believes that she was chosen to come to this place for. But Eloise disobeys and follows her mother into the dark. Victor, on the other hand, does obey, and he stays put. And by morning, from what we're told, everyone in the town is dead. So when Victor crawls out of the root cellar, he walks out to a town filled with corpses with literally no signs of life. Now let's break down what we actually know about Miranda's death, because the show spoon feeds it in 3 pieces across 3 different seasons. The first piece is in season 2, episode 10, and it's when Victor tells Tabitha he found his mother's body at the bottle tree the day after everyone died. The second piece is season 3, episode 9, and this is where Tabitha's inherited vision shows Miranda's final moments. She was actually killed by Smiley in the woods as she was approaching the bottle tree to save those children that were locked up in the tower. And the third piece is season 4, episode 4. Victor finally digs up the drawing he's been hiding his whole life. The man in yellow at the bottle tree eating Miranda's corpse. Putting those together shows a terrifying image that Victor has been carrying for 40 years. It's the reason that the reveal of the yellow suit made him pee his pants. And there's a second layer of damage confirmed in season 3, episode 9, when Victor recovers the church basement memory. He's crushed by guilt because he realizes his younger self's silence is tangled up in his mother's death. Because the implication is, if young Victor had repeated what he had heard the boy in white tell Christopher, Miranda might have never gone in to look for the tower. That moment he finally understood it, he picked up an axe and marched to the bottle tree to cut it down. One more thing though before we move on. Eloise followed Miranda that night, and in 40 episodes, we have never once seen what happened to her. There is a grave on the hill next to Miranda's, but that's it. And despite John Griffin saying on a Reddit AMA that Eloise is confirmed dead, I do find it odd the way they continue to position her and they like teeter-totter around her being in the story. Anyway, bringing it back, how does a child survive alone in the most hostile place imaginable? He gets help. Season 4, episode 8, Victor tells Ethan that on the morning he found everyone dead, the boy in white told him he would need 3 things to survive. Thing 1, food. The boy in white led him to the canned goods truck that is out in the clearing area where all the cars are, packed to the brim with canned peaches, and Victor says he largely lived off of them for years. Every time you see Victor near that truck, understand that you are looking at the closest thing he honestly had to a childhood home. Thing 2, pretend that you're not alone. Victor made friends out of boxes and walls because, in his own words to Ethan, the loneliness is by far the worst part and it makes everything so much scarier. And thing 3 is, it's actually never said, honestly. Go back and watch the scene. The conversation moves on to the gifts that Victor made for Ethan, I guess you should say, before Tabitha angrily cuts him off. On a show this deliberate, I simply can't believe that that was an accident. And we'll be coming back to the missing third rule later because it really, I just think the show already told us what that is. I think it's a big deal too. And before we continue, I just want to quickly say, be sure to get subscribed if you haven't already. I put so much work into these videos for your entertainment, and it would really mean the world if you hit that free cylindrical button right under or right near the like button as well. Also, hyping the videos can help spread this and help me out a little bit. Anything goes a long way. You don't have to do any of it. It's entirely free, but I do put a lot of work into these videos and would appreciate something in return if you feel so inclined. If you don't, no big deal. Whatever. Anyway, back to the video. Now about the drawings. All the way back in season 1, episode 3, in his very first real scene, Victor explains why he sketches everything, so that even if he forgets, the pictures themselves will remember. I see that as a survival strategy from someone who knows from experience that this town edits your memory. Victor, in a sense, outsourced his own mind onto paper. But season 2, episode 8 adds a gut punch of a twist. The childhood drawings Victor has been hoarding were not his. They were Eloise's. He kept his dead sister's sketches for 40 years and let everyone assume that they were his. And somewhere in those decades, people started arriving again. And this is a genuine gap in the show's history, by the way. We have no idea when the town repopulated, who came first after the massacre, or how Colony House got restarted. What we do know is that by the time our story begins, Victor is the constant. Victor is essentially the town's black box recorder. For some reason, though, he just struggles at being able to recall what's on that black box. Which brings us to the show that we actually watched. Victor enters the story relatively quietly in season 1, and from his first introduction, the show told us exactly who he was, just without the very important context around him. His first real bond is Ethan, and it makes perfect sense. Victor looks at Ethan and sees a kindred spirit, another kid processing horror by turning it into a story. Ethan literally takes Victor's drawings in season 1, episode 9 and rearranges them into a quest narrative. In season 1, episode 4, Victor hands us one of the most important mechanics in the entire series, the faraway tree. He drops a rock into the hollow and the rock falls out of the sky moments later. Then he explains how it works on people too, but the only problem is there's no way to know where a person will come out or where they'll end up. In season 2, episode 4, Ethan apologizes to Victor for the intrusion into his room. Victor warms up, and out of nowhere he says that Tabitha would be a nice mother. At the time, it plays as just honestly like sweet and a little sad, but after the season 3 finale, it honestly plays like recognition, because Victor keeps orbiting Tabitha in ways that don't quite add up yet. In the season 1 finale, Tabitha finally breaks through the bottom of her basement dig, falls into a hidden chamber, and Victor is just there, waiting for her. He tells her that we have to move because this is where the monsters sleep. And season 2 doubles down on this. Victor navigates the tunnels confidently and tells Tabitha that the boy in white told him how. Along the way, they find a suitcase with white lace inside, which I think we know by now is how the man in yellow got the clothes that he uses to shapeshift into people. In that same premiere, a shrieking puppet hallucination terrorizes Victor in the tunnels, while the exact same thing is terrorizing Jade above ground, a full season before either one of them could know who Jasper is or what connects them. By the back half of season 2, Victor is functioning almost like the town's early warning system. He measures the tree lines, he flags the leaves changing color for the first time ever, and says it signals something sinister. He tells Ethan cold weather is coming when nobody else believes it, and hands him a backpack and the coat he himself wore as a child. And then the two biggest reveals of his arc. Episode 8, at his family's old station wagon, he had a sister, Eloise. The drawings were hers, and their mother went to the tower that night to save the children locked inside. Then in the finale, he leads Tabitha to the bottle tree, calls it a very special faraway tree, tells her this is where he found his mother's body, and hands over his lunchbox. The lunchbox with a return if found address inside. Victor, probably without fully understanding it, just mailed Tabitha to his father. Season 3 closes a 40-year loop. Tabitha wakes up in Camden, Maine, follows the address in the lunchbox, and knocks on Henry Kavanaugh's door. The father Victor hasn't seen since he was a boy is back in the story. And by episode 4, Henry rides that doomed ambulance straight into the town that his wife painted. Meanwhile, Victor's edges start showing. In the premiere, when Randall tries to slaughter one of the animals during the food crisis, Victor pulls a gun on him. Boyd disarms him and confiscates it in seemingly the worst hiding spot imaginable for Henry to find later in season 4, but we'll get there. Don't worry about that. I promise you, we will. In episode 6, Victor takes his father into the tunnels, and it's one of the eeriest sequences of the season because they find Jasper, the puppet, sitting at a table in a chamber underground, arranged like it was waiting for someone. Henry also finds Miranda's scarf down there, and when the creatures stir, one of them tells Victor that if he keeps coming back down there, one day they'll actually make him stay. The creatures just simply don't talk to anyone else like that. They know Victor and have had a history with him. In episode 8, that memory correction we already covered, church basement, boy in white, the answers to the end or the beginning. That we already covered that. I'm not going to go through it again. But episode 9 is the actual fallout because Victor connects his childhood silence to his mother's death, grabs an axe, and goes to try to destroy the bottle tree. The boy in white appears to stop him, except now the boy in white is like a full-blown teenager. He's aging. Victor asks why. After all these years, everything is changing now. The boy admits he tried with Christopher. He says people have to learn the answers for themselves or they will never truly understand, and he gives Victor one instruction: don't cut down this tree. So think about Victor's position in the boy in white hierarchy. Christopher got a mission and died. Miranda got a mission and died. The residents get riddles. Victor gets standing orders. Whatever the boy in white actually is, Victor is his longest running relationship, his messenger, and maybe his failsafe, honestly. And then the finale detonates everything. Tabitha is the reincarnation of Miranda. Jade is the reincarnation of Christopher. Now run that back through Victor's eyes. The mother he spent 40 years mourning, the body he found at the bottle tree, walked back into his life 2 seasons ago, wearing a stranger's face, carried his lunchbox out of this town, and knocked on his father's door. And in season 4, she's going to look him in the eye and tell him she believes that she came back to free him. Season 4 is where every thread of Victor's life gets pulled at once. For starters, walking through the forest with Ethan and Jade, Victor freezes at the sight of a discarded yellow suit near some ruins, and he pees his pants in response. Because Victor knows exactly who that suit belongs to. And until that moment, he spent 40 years telling himself that the man who wore it wasn't real. Episode 4 forces it into the open. Henry tells the group that Miranda painted the man in yellow suit for decades, and Victor digs up the drawing he has kept buried. The man in yellow at the bottle tree feeding on his mother's corpse. And that's what he shows his father. In episode 5, Drunk and Unraveling, Henry throws it back in his face in front of a room full of people. Victor's takeaway, which he repeats more than once in this stretch, is that he regrets telling his father the truth. And I gotta say, I think that's so sad. The one time Victor shares his most guarded memory with the person who is supposed to protect him, it detonates. Episode 6 gives us the roof scene. Victor standing on the edge of Colony House telling Boyd and Kenny about the man from the old days who jumped out because he hated this place so much, and the fall just didn't kill him. It took days. And the whole time I was watching, I was like, is Victor up there remembering? Or is he considering actually doing it too? It's not something that's directly addressed, but Boyd talks him inside. And once he's inside, Victor becomes the single best intelligence source the town has on its worst enemy. Victor then goes on to build a whole dossier on the man in yellow across these episodes. It's nothing super crazy, but he gives us some stuff. He tells us that he seemed nice, he seemed normal, he arrived in a big brown car, and that the car is still sitting in the car graveyard that Victor made all those years ago. Which I still don't know how he pushed all those cars as a kid, but whatever. Anyway, when Victor searches the glove box in episode 7, he finds a sack of human teeth. Now, connect that to present day. Sophia takes Pastor Dune's tooth as a keepsake. The man in yellow tells Tabitha that he kept one of Jim's. That sack in the glove box is not a season 4 detail because it's a 40-plus-year-old collection. This thing has been souveniring its kills since before most of the current town was born, and it was Victor who found the trophy case. And then Victor does the thing that makes this season, for my money, his best. He does the math on the cycle out loud in episode 7. A mother arrives with a boy and a girl, the man in yellow follows, everyone dies, and the boy is left to grow up alone and afraid. Miranda came with Victor and Eloise. Tabitha came with Ethan and Julie. So Victor draws the only conclusion his life has prepared him to draw. Ethan is next. Ethan is him. So he starts training his replacement. Episode 8 was honestly a really devastating episode for me to watch. Victor takes Ethan to the canned goods truck and passes down the boy in white's survival rules like a scripture. He's handing Ethan the exact tools he wishes someone had handed to him in the 70s. Tabitha, horrified, promises Ethan will never be alone because they're all going to escape. And Victor, without even a drop of cruelty in it, answers, "My mother said the same." To her credit, Tabitha meets him where he is. She tells Victor she thinks that she came back for him specifically, that freeing him in particular is part of why she's here, which brings us to the finale stretch where Victor's two worlds, the boy in white and his own father, both come for him at once. Episode 9, the boy in white appears with a direct order. The others are planning to uproot the bottle tree, and the tree's important, so Victor must stop them. Victor tries, but then Kenny and Boyd, the two people he trusts the most in the world at this point, handcuff him and lock him in a cell while the town does exactly the thing that he was warned very specifically not to do. Then, somehow miraculously by a rinky-dink pickup truck, the tree comes down, red lightning comes out of the chasm, earthquakes, cabinets flying off the walls, and the man in yellow strolling around the town collecting talismans and dumping them into a faraway tree. Victor told them. He always tells them, but no one just wanted to listen. Whatever. No big deal. And while all of this is happening, the town runs its cruelest play yet. All season, Henry's been having these visions of another reality, a care facility, a doctor, a Dr. Boyd, for instance, a grown, successful, real-world Victor in a suit and tie, a grandson named Sebastian, Eloise alive and on her way to visit him. And those visions have been coaching Henry towards one action: sever the anchor holding you inside this delusion. The anchor is Victor. So in the finale, Henry finds the bullets, takes Victor's own confiscated revolver from the sheriff's station, and points it at his son. When Ethan walks in, the gun swings toward the boy, and Victor tackles his own father to the ground, screaming, asking why, while Ethan watches the whole thing. This is where season 4 leaves Victor Kavanaugh, right about everything, restrained for it, and nearly executed by his father for the crime of being real. All right, deep breath, that was a lot. It was a lot for even me to talk about, but now we get to the fun part at least. Let's run the ledger. Everything Victor knows, or might know, that we the audience still don't know. Number 1, the third rule. The boy in white gave a starving child 3 survival instructions, and the show has only ever let us hear 2 of them. To me, that is just a big thing that I feel like we have to find out in season 3. Number 2, 40 years of conversations with the boy in white. Do the screen time math. We've seen the boy in white speak to Victor maybe a handful of times. Victor has known him for 4 decades. The boy trusts him with orders, warnings, and navigation instructions nobody else gets. Victor is sitting on the single largest archive of the boy in white information in existence, and most of it is locked behind his own damaged memory. Number 3, the archive itself, his drawings, which, by the way, get subscribed, like I said already, because I want to do a whole video breaking down his huge box truck moral, because it is insane, and if you haven't seen it, we will have to deep dive about it soon, so get subscribed for that. But back to his drawings, Eloise's drawings, the collection in his room, the stash in the truck, and somewhere in season 2, an unexplained suitcase full of white lace. Number 4, the massacre night from inside the cellar. What did he hear down there? What did he see at dawn before the drawing he's shown us? I know we saw some of it, but above it all, did he ever see Eloise again? Because the fact that we haven't seen her, like I mentioned earlier, is genuinely sus. There's a grave, and that's it. And it feels like a very weird omission not to prove that she's alive, but talk about her constantly. That's a little weird to me. And if it follows suit that Ethan is the next Victor and that Tabitha is Miranda, what does that make Eloise? That makes Eloise potentially a story walker. I'm just saying. I know that's a theory that's been out there, but it does make sense. Number 5, why the man in yellow left him breathing. I know Sophia tried to kill Victor through Henry's delusions and all of that stuff, but why now? If the boy in white was in fact the good, as we learned at the end of season 4, and he's befriended Victor all of these years, wouldn't she have tried to kill him? Or the man in yellow, not she, not like Sophia, tried to have killed him way sooner? It doesn't make sense that it's now that she decides to want to kill him. I don't know, maybe it's part of the ritual in the game, I don't know. But maybe on the contrary of it, was leaving him alive like a required character in this story or game? I don't know. Did he even know that he was in the cellar? Like, I know Victor said he hid most of the time, but the boy in white and the man in yellow lived through the daytime. So, I don't know. I don't know. This is a fun one to me. I'm very interested to see what it means. Number 6, the underground. Victor knew how to navigate the tunnels. He knew about the chamber under the Matthews house. He knew, quote, this is where they sleep. And the creatures themselves treat him like he's a repeat visitor with a tab that he hasn't paid or something. Victor's mental map of what is under the town is better than anyone's, maybe including Jade's. Number 7, Jasper. Why is a ventriloquist dummy sitting at a table in the tunnels like it's waiting for an appointment? Why did Victor and Jade share the same shrieking puppet hallucination before they had ever compared notes? The show corrected Victor's memory about the puppet without ever explaining the puppet and why it still had significance. I understand maybe it was symbolism for Christopher, but I think there was more there. Number 8, the bottle tree. Victor called it a special faraway tree seasons before anyone else cared. The boy in white made him its bodyguard, for lack of a better word. He told him many times that the tree is important and is doing an insane amount of unexplained work in this story, and Victor is the only character who was told it directly. Number 9, Tabitha would be a nice mother. Season 2, episode 4, almost a full season before the reincarnation reveal. Coincidence? Or did some buried part of Victor recognize his mother the moment she walked into town? Because his behavior around Tabitha, waiting for her in that chamber, handing her the lunchbox, was never random, even if maybe it could have been a coincidence, but it really didn't feel that way. Okay. That's the ledger. That's all my thoughts and questions like that. But it's time for some takes I got here. This is where I land on the big Victor questions going into season 5. Theory 1. Henry's visions are the town running the Abby playbook, version 2. You gotta go back to season 1, episode 8 for this, because Abby became convinced that the town was a dream and that killing people would wake everyone up. Boyd had to shoot his own wife to save their son. Now look at what the visions are selling Henry. The town is a delusion, and killing your anchor, your son, wakes you up. It's the same con with a fresh coat of paint, for lack of a better word. And here's my take on this, and it's pretty obvious. The visions are an attack, the most sophisticated one this entire entity has ever run, and the giveaway is that its version of salvation always requires a murder. But there are some things in there, like Sebastian. I'm interested to see if they touch on Sebastian at all again, which is Victor's son in this world. Like, is any of that, does any of that have something in a parallel universe? I don't know. I'm just reaching here. Anyway, theory 2. Eloise is alive, and she is the skeleton key of season 5. If the death wasn't shown on screen, that means she's possibly alive. We don't know. I just gotta say it. It's weird to me that Henry's visions insisted that she was on her way. And that strange, sad line from Victor at the graves in episode 9. If Miranda is Tabitha now, then Eloise is alone. But alone where, Victor? Remember the faraway tree rule from all the way back in season 1? There's no telling where a person comes out of the tree, or maybe even when. I think it's maybe possible that she ended up going through a faraway tree. Maybe the body he recovered, if he recovered a body, wasn't hers and he thought it was. I don't know. I'm saying a lot of I don't knows here, but you know what I mean? They didn't show a freaking body. Theory 3, the third rule is the drawings. Rule 1 keeps your body alive, Rule 2 keeps your mind alive, and Rule 3, I would bet, keeps your memory alive. Draw what you see so that even if you forget, the pictures will remember. That phrasing has been Victor's mission statement since his very first scene, and it explains a lifetime of compulsive sketching, and it would mean the boy in white deliberately built himself a living archive, which reframes Victor's entire existence. He was actually assigned to this. Theory 4, Victor is how the loop breaks. The town runs on a repeating story, and the man in yellow all but confirmed it. Mother, boy, girl, massacre, and a boy left alone. Victor is the beat the story keeps, the leftover child. So if Tabitha really did come back to free Victor specifically, then the way you beat this place might not be bones or talismans. It might be making sure that this time the boy is not left alone, which means Victor training Ethan is either the saddest thing the show has ever done, or completely by accident, the exact move that ends the cycle. Maybe it's both. So that's Victor Kavanaugh. 40 years, 2 families, 1 unbroken chain of instructions from a boy who finally started aging, and more unanswered questions than any character on television. He's the town's memory, the town's warning system, and the town's longest open wound, and I genuinely believe season 5 lives or dies on what it does with him. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, or hit the like button, or hype the video so we could share it with more people. It would mean so much to me. But with all of that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.